So this is part A of the KhoodeelaarTV television channel broadcasting on the internet under the banner of the Baby Angel Geronimo editions on the UK Bank Holiday Monday, 28th of August 2023. Of the updates roundup internationally, there are, of course, various challenges reluctantly being allowed by the regime that has hijacked Pakistan and kidnapped Imran Khan. So this is a process of ongoing challenges which we shall be keeping an eye on. The manipulation by the hijacking military of the various media outlets is expressed in the fact that the previously unconditionally kind of neutral almost news outlets are now no longer neutral. They are retailing almost word for word the script given to them by the regime that has hijacked Pakistan. So, for example, bad news for Imran Khan. This is a catchphrase, if you like, that is intended to consolidate the brainwashing program, brainwashing the public, brainwashing the people reading the particular item. Essentially, there is no substance to the contents that could justify that kind of headline, but the headline is there, regardless of the actual contents of the substance. And in the last 24 hours, there has been ongoing negotiation between the family and friends of Imran Khan, and of course the Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf Party, and the hijacking military authorities about the food safety, food security that Imran Khan is allowed to have while he is being held in a prison in a place called Atok. We shall be expanding on the word Atok and to see if there is any similarity between the meaning of Atok, say in the Bangladeshi language, held, detained, and the word in the Punjabi region, whether Atok means the same in that regional language or not. Back to the situation in the United Kingdom, the evidence shows that the Goa of India origin Portuguese colonized, backgrounded, descended UK Interior Minister, the evil one, the cruel one, the ignorant one, Suella Evilar Cruella, is featuring in some of the items. In one item that is published online by The Guardian and The Observer, if you like, because of the coincidence of the weekend, there is an interview with the Birmingham Yardley Member of Parliament, Jess Phillips. Now, Jess Phillips was touring Nottingham when this interview was given or the comments were given to the Guardian individual, Peter Walker, who is supposedly the acting deputy political editor of the Guardian. And in the course of the comments that Justice Phillips made about Suella Ivila Cruella Fernandez, she, Justice Phillips, would not even allow Suella Ivila Cruella to take out her bin bags. She doesn't say her name Fernandez, she calls her Braverman. We call her Fernandez because that's her name. That's the family name that she was born with. She was born somewhere in London. One of the items that Braverman, within quotes, is featuring in is that she shows the determination to stick with the program to deport people to Rwanda. And she's quoted in The Guardian 3 hours ago. Home Secretary says, "We will do whatever it takes." If Strasbourg thwarts Rwanda plan, there is a subheading to this piece which says the Home Secretary confirms government considering fitting some migrants with electronic tags. Now, we call her the eviler, crueler. And we do that based on the behavior. The UK government exploring all options to remove asylum seekers. Now, this is a piece by somebody called Matthew Weaver, and it's timed at 09:25 GMT, Bank Holiday Monday in the UK, 28th of August 2023. Now, the headline should read, but it doesn't. The contents of the second paragraph that it's in contravention of the European Convention, European Court of Human Rights, and also the international treaty obligations, whatever she's saying. And they are calling her Braverman, of course, has said that the government will do whatever it takes if its plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda is thwarted in Strasbourg. And she confirmed the government is considering fitting some migrants with electronic tags. In an interview with the BBC, the Home Secretary stepped up her attack on the ECHR, which is the European Court of Human Rights, calling the European Court of Human Rights as politicized and interventionist. Now, all the evidence about the actual decisions, the so called jurisprudence, the thinking done by the United Kingdom judiciary, behaving as prostituted agencies of the UK state, whoever is setting the agenda at the time of the state, shows that just as the European Court of Human Rights is being accused of being politicized and interventionist, The role of the UK Court of Appeal, the divisional courts, the so called Supreme Court, collectively and separately, is that of interventionist, politicized, and as part of the stoogery of the UK state and the regime at the time. And the Guardian stupidly repeats the idiotic banality, saying that Suella Fernandez also suggested the government would be prepared to pull out of the convention that governs the Strasbourg court if the Strasbourg court blocked the Rwanda policy despite there being opposition to such a move inside the cabinet. This piece on the Guardian is based mainly on Fernandez's interview by Michelle Hussein on the BBC. And it does refer to various things about the ECHR, etc., etc. And she boastfully says, we have just passed our landmark legislation in the form of the Illegal Migration Act. That will enable us to detain and remove those who have arrived here illegally. We need to await the outcome of our litigation in the Supreme Court before we can start operationalizing the main aspects of the Act. Now, what the Guardian item does is represents a typical Guardian piece. which means it's shallow, and it is clearly following the racist policy in breach of the UK's international law obligations. And this is not alone. The Guardian is not alone in doing that. The only other paper that can be referred to as in any way being comparable with the Guardian's role is the online only publication, the independent.co.uk. The Independent and the I newspaper, which is an offshoot of the Independent before it separated from the Independent, although they appear to be critical in parts of their headings and parts of their kind of copy, although they appear to be critical of the Fernandez policy and the Rishi Sunak policy and the Cons policy of persisting with international law, constitutional law, or the real jurisprudence would not know the facts, let alone the extent of the illegality being paraded as ordinary news by these outlets, because they are actually not pointing out that each of these statements that they appear to be critically referring to is also a perpetration of illegality, perpetration of a breach that is intentional and has nothing to do with the sovereignty. Because all the international treaties, declarations, conventions make ample provision for signing countries, or signatory states to have autonomy in implementing the various requirements that arise from the signing of the conventions, declarations, for example, if there is a unavoidable reason for breaching one of the regulations or one of the requirements in order to stop crime or threat to public safety, that is allowed, that kind of derogation, temporary or on a periodic basis, derogation from the obligation to comply with the requirements is allowed. But the Guardian doesn't make these points that I have just made. Not only the Guardian, the independent.co.uk, the I newspaper, and even the Times newspaper, of course, the Times is less willing to appear even critical, even appear to be critical. So, is guilty of is that it too is lying, although it is pretending to be not lying. And if you look at the significant life and death questions that are addressed in these legislations, for example, this landmark legislation that Suella Fernandez boasted of in this piece by Peter Walker, you will see that contrary to the appearance the Guardian presents, the truth is that serious infringements of basic ordinary citizens' rights are contained in the legislation. That the Guardian retails on behalf of the UK regime. For example, going to the overall, the main failures and the main sets of crimes allowed to be perpetrated by the NHS hospital in Chester, where the management allowed the murders of the babies to be continued for more than a year by Lucy Letby. The hospital management continued to allow the serial murderer of babies to carry on and can continue the murders. Now, this is representative of the lack of safeguard in the NHS for the patients. Then you extrapolate this lack of safeguards for the people who should be safeguarded by the organization that is under question and review, and you extrapolate that and apply to the police, and then you extrapolate that to the elected local councillors and the elected members of parliament. Elected local councillors and the elected members of parliament are supposed to safeguard democracy, safeguard the constituents, the electors and the electorates, democratic rights, safeguarding. And if you add all of those together, you will see that the United Kingdom, the UK, is a dysfunctioning, unfit for purpose state where the people are not safe. Innocent people in the main are not safe. And the truth is not being told, not even by the critical media. We shall be continuing all of those in due course, of course. So we shall take a look. Now, let's look at the situation locally in Tower Hamlets. Now, this is an item about four individual pedestrians were injured on Wednesday when a car being pursued by the police hit these pedestrians in the Fieldgate Street. Now, the Fieldgate Street is behind the East London Mosque on the Whitechapel Road. Let's say parallel to the Whitechapel Road, and the Fieldgate Street runs from New Road in the east to Whitechapel Road in the west. And the Fieldgate Street is where this happened. Two males, aged 16 and 19, were held on suspicion of driving, burglary, and firearms offences. And the crash was referred to the police watchdog. Now that they've got suspicion of driving means, I suppose, suspicion of driving dangerously, burglary, and firearms offences. So they were carrying guns. After being notified by the force, the London Metropolitan Police sent investigators to the scene and to the police post incident procedures. No, the not London Metropolitan Police. It's the Independent Office for Public Conduct. Confirmed they were assisting. I mean, it's a BBC piece, but it's a grammatically erroneous one. It says confirmed they were assessing the crash. After being notified by the force, we sent investigators to the scene and to the police post incident procedure, where the officers involved provided their initial accounts, the spokesperson added. We have requested further information from the City of London Police, I suppose, and once received, we will determine what further action may be required from us, that is the Independent Office for Police Conduct. There is no follow up to any news item about now. There is a curious item dated the 3rd of November from the Travelers Council website, which has got the heading campaign. And it is responsible for conspiring with criminals like the Poplar Harka and Travelers Community Housing, which cause housing